Hey Cheeseheads, it's Arabella, and I'm here to talk to you about my personal opinion on the ethics of self-shipping.
Trouble from the day I met you, got me seeing double. How could I forget you? Mad love, mad love.
So what exactly is self-shipping? You've probably heard this term all over your social media feed if you're in weird niche fandom communities or you clicked on this video. But in a nutshell, it's shipping yourself with a fictional character, aka imagining you and your favorite character in a relationship, usually romantic. Self-shipping happens to be particularly popular with neurodivergent people. For example, I'm on the autism spectrum.
Trust me, we know.
And ever since I was a little girl, I've been doing stuff like this for years without knowing there was a term for it. And due to this being more popular with neurodivergent people and being kind of stereotypically cringe in nature, a lot of the time people wonder what is the difference between it turning into deranged obsession versus a passionate hyperfixation. And so I wanted to sit down and kind of talk about that in my experience. So without further ado, let's break down the ethics of self-shipping. So in my opinion, when done in a healthy, safe, regulated way, self-shipping just looks like having fun, supporting other people's ships and getting to know different people's characters, drawing art for yourself, making music, making videos, collecting or making merchandise. This practice should not harm anyone if it is done properly, and it should just be a fun way to express a hyperfixation for a show or a character. Some of the first examples of toxicity in this community was through the DeviantArt OCX canon, cringe compilations, and how these debates would go on about if these people were pick-me's or if these people were too obsessed with these characters. If you throw that, oh, this is cringe aside, I think the real critiques should lie on these points. I am personally super against when people are attacking somebody else for liking the same character or sending a bunch of threats or hate mail, especially if you are a grown adult. This is not acceptable behavior. What is the point of wasting all the time of your life on some random person who doesn't know you over something that does not exist? The next point that I want to discuss, and this is something I have seen way too normalized in this community, and that is straight up believing that a character is real and talking to you, or experiencing full-blown delusions. A great example of this, if you were really on Tumblr, is the Snape Wives community. If you don't know what that is, it was basically a bunch of, I guess, middle-aged women that were super devoted and claimed they were married to Severus Snape from Harry Potter, and a lot of them would say they were having spiritual impacts and they were able to communicate subconsciously with Severus Snape, and he was
Sending them messages.
You need to know that this character is not telepathically communicating with you because this character is a concept created by a person. They are not a real entity. And if you believe that a fictional character is a real human entity or a deity, emotionally, I understand that there can be overlap between what is fiction and reality, but if you are genuinely not able to tell the difference between for me, for example, if I saw cheese in the wild and I was like,
It's a sign Dr. Two Brains is here.
Versus me being like, oh, cheese. You know what that reminds me of? Two Brains. There's a stark difference between those two views, and I think as long as you are able to stay in reality, you hopefully will not cross into this mindset, because that mindset can be incredibly dangerous. The third and final point I want to make about things I find unethical in self-shipping is when people cross this ship mindset over to those behind the character. This can apply to anybody working on that piece of media. It can be an actor, voice actor, artist, creator, etc. If you start treating real people that just made a franchise or participated in the creation of a franchise as this fictional thing you can worship, that is not okay. And a lot of people may sit here, hear that, and think, well, What's the difference in toxicity if it's not real versus real? For me, a lot of my self-shipping is perfect for me because the character is not real. That kind of gives me this sense of creativity and imagination that I wouldn't have if it was a real person. If you try to treat a real person like a character you self-ship with, that's weird and that's obsessive because that person is a living, breathing human being with feelings, emotions, and their own thoughts. So they're not going to consent to you doing all this stuff to them. And overall, it just gives me a big ick factor when people try to do this. Coming from somebody who's a content creator and a performer, I have been worshipped like this before by somebody who wrote headcanons about us together and such. And I'm gonna tell you right now, because I've been in that position before, from firsthand experience, this is really disgusting behavior, and if the people that you treat like this find out about this, they're obviously going to be upset and shocked, and you need to recognize that this is a real person with thoughts and feelings.
No! I think the mice did it.
Please do remember, self-shippers, that being labeled cringe is simply a judgment, but harassing, threatening, stalking, and trying to control people is unlawful. And it should not be permitted in these spaces. In a nutshell, self-shipping can be super fun and creative when it's done in a safe and accepting environment, but you need to remember that these kind of expressions and obsessions can always fall into the hands of the wrong people. Please try your best to stay respectful of others and try to keep things healthy and fun. I just want to educate people who may be unfamiliar or new to this on some helpful tips to having a good and safe time in this niche community. Thank you guys so much for watching. SCG out.